What's happening? My name is Blake Harris, and this is the Music City Mindset. The Music City Mindset is licensed under the NFM network, and we can be found on all platforms everywhere. We are coming to you from the Iconics Fitness Studio. We are happy to welcome Iconics Fitness to the Mindset family, and we encourage you to go to their website and check out the Iconics difference at Iconics Fitness. We have a very special show lined up for you today, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. I am not alone. Owner of Spontaneous Beauty. He has had pieces of art featured all around the world, and his family gave me the first view into a family life, a new normal kind of family life. As a family that had special needs, his family is my family, my best friend of 3 decades, at Mindset Easy 615 on Instagram. Welcome to the show, Evan Butler.
What's up, Speezy?
What up, dude? So let's talk a little bit about societal pressure. It's a big one. Encompasses a lot, but the reason I keep bringing it up is I feel like I'm deaf to society. And what I mean by that is I can't watch let's say a fragrance commercial and see some dude half naked with this bombshell and feel like, ooh, I need to work on my waistline based on what this commercial and ad is trying to tell me. Like, that's just not something that registers. But I'm around people that it almost paralyzes them on thinking of like comparing themselves to what is our society's pinnacle. Right? And the pressure of being viewed a certain type of way in our society, I think like dampens our ability to just exist. Sure. So existing without makeup, existing without a six-pack, all the anti-aging stuff, which probably a whole nother tangent, but I hate that term because I don't care what you're putting in your forehead. We're still getting older. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing that me and my wife will argue about later. But I think it comes down to performance versus presence. We constantly in this society have to fight and go out of our way to be present where our feet are, unplugged from society. And there's a reason why we have to get away from that is because that pressure of performing within our society is such a short-term memory where it's very much your past doesn't matter to some extent, but like it's all about what have you done for me lately? And that can get very heavy, and we have to get away from that at times. And I feel like it's eliminated grace from ourselves of just existing. Because what do you do when you unplug from society? You just crash out on the couch, hair looks a mess, PJs with some holes in them, and then what do you start doing? You start scrolling. And then in that moment when you're looking like your worst, you're seeing people on Instagram presenting their best. And it's that reminder that in that moment, someone you would compare yourself is all dolled up, glammed up, and then here you are rotting on the couch. And we immediately can't give ourselves grace because of that pressure. Is that sounding off? Do y'all agree with that? Like, what's your opinions on that?
Absolutely.
That resonates.
Yeah. I think our age and generation is a fine line of that because, like, when you grew up before social media, you were what you were. You showed up to school, like, especially in like lower middle class, poverty, a lot. Like we were around. You see two types of things come out of it. You see like the guy that's struggling, but he's making sure like everybody's got on Jordans and name brand clothes, and like so they appear a certain way. And or you see the people like more like me and you that are like, you know, we didn't have it, so we don't need it now. You know, right. We don't need to look a certain way or think a certain way. It's kind of like I see people, and I've had this happen to me before. Like I wake up on my wife's birthday and I've got flowers and I've got presents and stuff laid out. And then somebody calls me later and they're like, dude, you didn't even make her a birthday post. And it's like, but in reality, in real life, the thing that you didn't see is that there was a huge birthday going on that I feel like it's almost corny. We all do it. At some point, but it's almost corny when like I woke you up with a happy birthday, I gave you presents, I did this and that, but now I need to make sure everybody sees it on Facebook.
Yeah. Do you though? do you need to make sure?
No,
Right?
No.
not at all.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because I've actually been off social media for the last like 6 months now.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because, Valentine's just happened and it was my wife's birthday a few weeks back. And it was kind of the first time that I'm like, oh, I'm not going to make a post about Valentine's or a birthday post, and it was kind of refreshing. It's like, gives me a chance to show her love in a real way without the pressure of, other people and how they perceive our love, which, I'm embarrassed to say, but I used to care about. And, we can talk about that a little bit, but just like my experience being off social media has been incredible and like kind of came from everything that you just opened up with.
Was it there like a little learning curve in the beginning? Or was it immediately like, oh, the weight's off?
Yeah. I'm pretty good at like just stopping things cold turkey. That's just kind of the way my mind works. But it was definitely eye-opening to see like how you go onto your phone and like before you even remember what you were doing, going into your phone, like you automatically open up Instagram, or at least I did.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I wasn't even going onto my phone to open up Instagram. What am I doing? And I'm eye-opening that I'm just functioning like on autopilot, like on a subconscious level. So it's really given me a chance it's given me time back. And then, I feel like I've mostly filled that time with more productive things. I've leaned a little bit into like I like to keep up with some sports. So I'll like listen to podcasts around those sports and try to keep up with that news. I do that a little bit more, but I feel like that is at least more positive, less sucking, like you were talking about, less sucking from you or the constant comparison and the need to keep up, right? It allows me to kind of, I guess, mind melt without the comparison and all that comes with the social
Glad
media.
you brought that up because I hadn't thought about that. I spent COVID with no social media. I had gotten hacked and I went 2 years with no social media and it was peaceful. Yeah. People were like, what did you do? Yeah. Like real stuff. Work.
Another.
I was just saying, it's just funny that like people were then hitting me up being like, wondering if he was okay. And it's like, he might be better than all of us.
I've had that happen a couple times.
Yeah.
A couple people reach out, hey, I noticed I haven't seen anything on social media. Just want to check in. You were good. Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times. And now I'm like, should I be letting people know? And I'm like, that comes off like self-righteous. Like, hey, guys, I'm not on social media anymore. Just in case you're worried about me. Like,
I'm not on social.
We can go down that whole road. Everybody's seen somebody go, I'm taking myself off social media today. Don't announce it. Just do it.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to beg you to stay.
I didn't announce it. I felt like it was sucking like time. And I felt like every time I got on, one way or another, like came across something negative. Even though, I intentionally like unfollowed pages that were news or, negative pages. And this is actually an argument that I have a lot. Like sometimes with my own family members, it's like, I choose to not find out about what's going on in society. Like I don't do any news organizations, local or national or global. And a lot of times I'm so unaware, a lot of times of like tragic things that happen, but that's like, I choose to be unaware of that because I feel like it's only taking away from me. Like it's putting me in a bad headspace. I'm a very compassionate and like empathetic person. So when I do see it, I feel tremendously bad. So anyway, sometimes I get into those arguments with some people and it's like, well, you have a responsibility to find out what's going on. Or I feel like maybe they sometimes see it as like, I don't care. Like I'm selfish or I don't have a heart for it. But it's like, no, I can sit. I feel like I can sit and pray about the people in need or what's going on in the Middle East or what's going on here in my hometown without like traumatizing myself with videos of people like dealing with physical harm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I do. I love that. And what we're actually teetering on, which I haven't really thought about till right now, hearing like the word choice that you use, is that we're getting to a point where we're almost, without like saying it out loud, we're treating information like it's a drug.
Oh, it is.
Because I know people that, I mean, they binge their phone to the point where then, I need to take a week, a month off or whatever. You know, like drinking. Some people can like, if we're going out celebrating, I might have a drink. And then they don't drink for a month, 2 months, whatever, right? They can be around it. Some people can't be around that much information. We put the blame on social media, but that's just the vessel for the overload of information. And some people can't be around that kind of information without then spiraling, which is a very similar like substance abuse conversation. So this like social media has led us into like an information abuse epidemic.
Oh gosh.
I've had to tell family members, like especially older family members, turn the news off. Stop watching those same stories all day. Stop watching. I don't care what side you're on. If you watch it all day, you're going down a negative spiral.
I had a kind of a realization when I was talking to my wife one time, because I was so worked up about when everything was kind of blew up in the Middle East with Israel, and I don't know all the terms, but they were attacking Gaza, Hamas, Gaza, and it was going back and forth. And you scroll through Instagram and there's videos of dead babies and parents with their dead baby in their hand. I'm like, this is traumatizing.
Yeah.
And she said to me, we are not meant to see that. Like, just because you're not there physically doesn't mean that it doesn't cause the same like traumatic effect in you, especially if you're someone that cares, like most of us, we're not meant to be exposed to so much. It takes a toll on you. And it affects your everyday, your relationship with your wife, your relationship with everybody. I'm on edge. I'm like feeling like a bad person because I'm not doing anything about it, and I'm living my life, and babies are dying overseas.
But people will treat you like you're selfish for unplugging.
Exactly, and that's where
and saying like you don't have the heart for it, when actually it might be because you have too big of a heart for it. That to balance everything in your life, you have to draw boundaries, and as we know, not everyone loves drawing boundaries. I think that's the underlying conversation is that social media with immediate stories and posts and things like that, you get to like almost evasively keep up with people. And then when you like pull that back, it's like drawing boundaries with people, and not everyone is okay with boundaries.
We've got to protect like what's in here and what's in here. We have to set boundaries for sure.
Exactly. And that's very good insight. That's the reason why I wanted to ask you that question, your opinion in that regard. I think with where we're taking this conversation next, you would be the expert in that, because through your program, one of the things that I have enjoyed taking away from working with athletes with special needs is that innocence from like the being tainted by society, in the fact of them being able to just exist without this like heavy burden of having to present a perfect version of themselves, that coming as you are is perfect enough. And that has been so uplifting and rewarding to see an entire community of people that don't have that same pressure beat down from that society. And it's a very beautiful thing. In studio with us today, the leader, founder of the Train for Life program that's here in Tennessee, a program that we are blessed to have added to our community at Music City Muscle. Train for Life is a wellness-based project focused on fitness, nutrition, and mental health for teens and adults with intellectual disabilities. It's an incredible program. We are very honored to be a part of that and be a part of what you've built. Welcome to the show, Santiago Allaria.
Thank you.
So let's just start with obviously we've established you have a very big heart. Let's start with your background, where you're from, and where that big old heart comes from.
All right. Well, I guess take you back to the beginning. So I was born in Argentina, so very, very proud of my roots. I had the blessing to immigrate here through my father at a young age, and grew up in the States while maintaining an Argentinian culture and still speak the language. But, having all the benefits of growing up in the States, which, if my life could have been much different had I grown up in Argentina. So, growing up was big into sports, like you as well. my sport of choice was soccer, with my roots being in Argentina. Played that. Tried to play it at the highest level. That instilled in me, work ethic, discipline, all those kinds of things. Love for training, passion for training. That led me into coaching. After playing through college, that led me into coaching, which is really what has opened the door for me professionally and personally. You're a coach. You've been a coach. Coaching, you meet so many people, so many beautiful people of all backgrounds. I will say the eye-opening piece once I got introduced to Special Olympics, and I'll tie this back in, but the one group of people that coaching did not introduce me to was people with special needs, people with intellectual disabilities, and that's something that we're trying to fix with this program. So it did introduce me to my partner in crime, Natalie Kamau, who couldn't be here today with us, but I met her through the gym I was working at. She's the VP of Health for Special Olympics Tennessee. And she came to me with an idea to develop this program. The idea was, she came in with so much passion, I remember, and she wanted to bring people with intellectual disabilities into a high-level training facility. And she wanted to bridge that gap between the Special Olympics community and the health and fitness community. So, why a coach like me who's trained at a high level at a high performance facility, athletes of all backgrounds, how come I've never worked with this population? How come they've never walked into the gym? Well, the answer is because they don't feel comfortable coming into that gym. The answer is because as a coach, we're not really, we're not educated as the norm is to include this population, to have some kind of adaptive fitness training. And then on the other side, from within the Special Olympics community, this population is really not held to the standard of, okay, if you're an athlete, you need to train like an athlete. That means you need to train year round. You need to upkeep your physical fitness. You need to upkeep your health so that you can play in sports. And that's what being an athlete is all about. And they're really just not provided that opportunity from the resources within the Special Olympics organization and outside of it. That opportunity is really just not there for them. So that's really the fire behind this program, is we wanted to blend that gap and provide an opportunity for these athletes to train year round. So we partner with the best of the best, the Music City Muscle. D1 Training is one of our big partners, and all kinds of locally owned gym facilities where the ownership is local. There's a passion for that community. There's a want to give back to that community. Those are the perfect partners for this program. And we work together to bring athletes into their facilities so they can experience higher level training, so that facility and their coaches and their ownership and their members can experience the beauties of working with this population. And hopefully that can, shape generations and drive a more inclusive, world.
On that word inclusion that you just said, going back to the beginning, you said from the very part, Natalie's vision was to bring this population into high performing performance centers. Why was that the goal instead of developing a facility catered solely to this population? Why was the integration such an important component from the very beginning?
Yeah, well, I guess it wouldn't be inclusive if you went that route, right? And that happens really with all the resources that are provided for the population. There's centers for people with intellectual disabilities. It's right there in the name a lot of times. So that creates the opposite of inclusion, I believe. And there's so many wonderful resources, and there's definitely huge positives to that, because you're bringing people with similar adversities together, and you have specialized staff to work with them. There's so much good work being done. But I think that in the space of health and wellness, when we're looking at, how do we optimize our well-being? How do we live, our life to the highest quality standard possible, right? I think you should be treating everybody the same. It's not really any different for someone with an intellectual disability from that standpoint. So it made the most sense to not try and bring them the wheel, but bring them to the professional, bring them to where there's a professional strength and conditioning coach, where there's a professional facility, and empower them so that they feel like they belong. And one day they can go and walk into those facilities on their own and purchase their own membership. And,
I think the term intellectual disability is such a broad term.
Oh yeah.
It encompasses so many different types of people, so many different situations, That's why it sounds so nice to bring them into a professional facility, instead of, like you said, adapting one just for that, because there's no way to adapt just for,
Yeah.
Is through Natalie and through this your first real exposure to this population, or?
Oh yeah. So my first exposure to working with this population, outside of just, seeing people out in the world, but so Natalie asked me to volunteer at a sports club that we did at the D1 that I was working at. So it was like a multi-sport. The objective was to bring athletes in and let them experience a little bit of each sport, right? So that was my first experience ever. And it was, honestly, it was just incredible. Like, and anybody that spends some time with this population, like, they'll tell you just I guess the things that stick out the most is how joyful they seem to be with the littlest of things that we take for granted every day. So talk about being present, right? In your opening remarks, working, if you're someone in the world struggling to feel present or struggling to feel grounded, go volunteer for your local Special Olympics, and it will put your feet in the ground, and you will leave feeling present. So that was my experience. It kind of put everything back into perception for me, and I left that knowing that I wanted to experience that again for sure. Because I hadn't a chance to coach them. So as a professional coach, like, I was able to coach them, and it stretched me. It wasn't easy by any means, but I felt like I was doing a horrible job, but the athlete's response was like I was doing an incredible job. So I was like, wow, this is really, impactful work that we're doing. And that athlete will remember that for years to come. The next time, they can see you 10 years later and remember that time, and that's intentionality that we often lack in our day to day. It was also eye-opening because I had never experienced them before, which is an issue. How come I hadn't experienced them in school growing up? Or, I played soccer and youth soccer clubs and in university and overseas. And how come the associations I was with did not interact with this population? So that was eye-opening as well.
And like with coaching, I know when I really had made up my mind that I was going to be getting into as a trainer, as a coach, in my mind back then, when you fast forward to a Blake that's now almost 40, I would assume where I was trying to go was working with elite level athletes. And what I meant by elite was going to compete in the Olympics, NFL, MLB. Like, that's what the type of athlete I wanted to train. And I was, like everybody else in fitness, you got to pay your dues with the general population of things. And finding communities where you make a real difference. I know I didn't even make it into the NFL with an NFL contract. And I couldn't tell you how many coaches I had between just my teams and then training for the combine. I had a combine specific coach, and a coach for just explosiveness, a strength coach, a speed coach. And like, they all had impacts, and I'm all very grateful for them. But at some point they were just one coach for a specific thing on the list of things. Being able to be with almost an underserved population community, whether we're talking about intellectual disabilities or not, when you have the opportunity to create a real difference on a short list of coaches for someone, it's become so much more fulfilling and more rewarding that the idea of being transactional for a professional athlete does not seem like where I want to go anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I would agree with that for sure. Yeah, and
yeah.
like you said, even not just even but the intellectual community or disability community, but also just the opportunity to work with, whether it's like just more troubled areas or lower, more poverty areas, or people that are more in need through through coaching. The opportunity to make an impact is greater for sure. And
When you first moved here to the States, did you come to Nashville first?
No. So I moved to South Florida, and grew and spent through school, middle school, high school, and then I kind of was overseas a little bit, chasing the dream. Had some opportunities for soccer during my high school, and then I went to university in Orlando and played there, and then bounced around. Followed my parents to Boston after I came back from school, and then I met my wife. So kind of flying through my story here. Met my wife. We were long distance. She was in LA. I moved to LA, and then what brought me to Nashville was that she's a singer songwriter, so she was pursuing that. So that's what brought me to Nashville. And then since being in Nashville now 10 plus years, it's the first place that has felt like home since leaving South Florida, which is kind of where I grew up. Yeah.
It has to be such a cultural difference, because I'm assuming in South Florida you're able to stay in touch with some of those Latino, Argentinian roots.
For sure, yeah.
Probably have to go a little bit further out of your way to stay in touch with that here in Nashville. I would assume. Yeah. What was that mindset shift like of somewhere like Nashville, Tennessee, growing up, how you grew up?
Yeah.
Literally from international Europe, all over. Literally, I mean, you mentioned South, North, West. Now you're in Nashville. What is it about Nashville, and what did that change in you establishing this as your home?
Yeah. I mean, that Southern hospitality is a real thing. It's a real thing. I mean, so I grew up in South Florida. And when I moved here, I mean, I was a baby when I moved to Nashville. Like, I was 10 years ago. I was in my 20s, like mid 20s. So my perception of Nashville was very what's naive? What's the word? Arrogant? Maybe. Like I kind of just bundled them in with the South. It's a bunch of rednecks.
They don't wear
country
shoes.
music. Not that was an issue. I just didn't have any much experience with that. Growing up in South Florida. Some of my white friends listen to country music, but for the most part, it was like, even the white people culture was like embedded with Latin roots or like Black roots, because there's so much diversity in South Florida. So, but I consider myself like very open-minded. Like, I love moving around. I've had the pleasure and the blessing of moving around, and I'm very grateful to my parents for allowing me to have some of those opportunities and being able to live in Europe and playing soccer there, and lived in Argentina when I was 16 trying to play soccer there. And so I've been able to experience different cultures, and I love cultures. So like I love experiencing how people live life and where they come from and where their little cultures come from. So moving here, honestly, it wasn't that much of a shock. It was very I quickly realized that I'm stupid for like assuming I know things, like assuming I knew anything about Nashville. Like, I actually love country music. Like, being able to experience that for the first time, like I realized, like, it's catchy, and I love the storytelling behind country music. And the people, like the Southern hospitality, as I mentioned, like, people are so kind and a little bit calmer and less rushed. Whereas I lived in South Florida, I lived in Boston, and I lived in LA. So kind of like the three worst, like, as far as like hustle bustle, like, what'd you do for me lately mentality, so like, I really appreciated that. And I found that there's actually tons of diversity here too. There's a huge Latin community. So, I've had no issues, adapting. I've felt accepted from day one. I haven't felt any kind of unwantedness from anybody that I've interacted with. It's been a blessing.
I can tell you've lived all over because you don't have a specific accent
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
You know, we have a few people sit on this couch that it's rare that I couldn't tell you where they're from.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you start developing, like,
Yeah.
being able to pinpoint. So on that note, last question before we take a little break here. This is the Music City Mindset.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of started because we have the same conversation with Uber driver, whatever, of like realizing that no one from here that's making your time and energy towards making this city a better place, even though you're not from here, and having to develop that love and appreciation for this city when it wasn't what you were forced into because you didn't grow up here.
Sure. Yeah.
So as someone who has a passion for culture and travel and moving and all of that, really what was the mindset to then do something like a passion project like Train for Life that kind of, I'm sure in some ways, anchored you to this one location?
I'm pretty confident my gift is to help people. So I'd be doing that wherever I was. And I don't know that if I wasn't here that I would have been exposed to this population, or the massive need. And the need is very big here. And part of that is because of the culture here, in Tennessee. It is probably a few steps behind from a health and fitness standpoint, maybe than other places. So, and that trickles down, times 10 to this population from a resources standpoint. So I think that I'm the kind of person that was like, I think it's my calling to identify a need and help that. I do that coaching typical developing people and seeing the need with this population. I mean, it's just too big to ignore. Then the further you go out from Middle Tennessee, the bigger that need is, even in our more rural areas. There's no one's doing something like this for this population. So to me, it's like life and death for these people. And as working for Special Olympics of Tennessee, like, it's our responsibility that we do something about what we're seeing with this population. Like, that it is not okay that they are dealing with obesity and diabetes and cardiovascular disease and all these things, like, and we're just okay with it. We have to raise the bar and raise the standard as an organization, as Special Olympics, and do something that's going to improve these folks' quality of life so that they can be around for a long, long time. I don't know if that specifically answers.
No,
your question.
it does, and I'm glad you ended up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely feel like I'm where I need to be.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Whether you set out to do that or not, that's just kind
definitely didn't set out to do that. But that's the beauty of life.
Yeah, it has to be a God thing to put you in a place, especially because we're talking about, like, you can't do anything for the kids you see in the Gaza Strip when you look at it online, because your brain wants to do something about it. Yeah. You ended up in a place where that really needed someone to step up and help them, and you were able to be in this location to do that, and I'm very grateful for that. And there's a community of an entire population that's very grateful that you moved here. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about what you're actually doing and the difference that it makes. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back right here at the Music City Mindset.
Introducing our Berry High Seltzer, the ultimate cannabis-infused experience. Maybe you're trying to cut back on the booze or get some of THC's sweet benefits. Our Berry High Seltzer invites you to savor the experience responsibly. Not only is it delicious, but our seltzers provide a federally legal way to unwind.
All right, we are back here at the Music City Mindset. We are sitting down with Santiago Allaria of Train for Life. We've been talking a lot about a lot of different things here. One of the things that I was very curious to ask you, because obviously I know what your program has developed into now that Music City Muscle is a part of it. And when you talk about it and you get to hear your passion, it's a no-brainer. Like, yes, whether I get involved, it's a need that has to be addressed. So if I don't do it, he's going to get involved. Like, you get the right people behind it, this is going to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure it wasn't super easy and being like, this is what we're doing, and everyone just lining up at your door to help out. Yeah. What was the initial roadblocks to get your program where it is now?
Sure. Yeah. No, and it's still not easy, especially in some of our more rural areas. But from like an internal organization, some of the roadblocks were really just creating buy-in. We're a nonprofit, so funding is tough, but funding rules everything. Like, it costs money. So for us to be able to dedicate funds to this program versus something else, initially took some convincing, but luckily we have great leadership that was on board. And then from communicating this out to our families, which fitness can be intimidating, especially for this population. It's for anybody that's trying to get into fitness that has never done fitness. It's very intimidating. Imagine someone with a disability or a family that that knows it's going to be uncomfortable or might really kind of trigger that they've let this go too far, and getting their athlete in there might be an admission that they let it gone too far. To put yourself, I always try to put myself in their mind and their shoes.
There's a lot of bubble wrap in this community.
There's tons of bubble wrap. Yeah. There's tons of enabling. There's tons of
I love bubble wrap.
Here's the easy, here's
that's why you're perfect for this.
The easy answer, right? But what's not good for you long term, right? So a lot of creating buy-in and convincing our people within our organization, but also not the athletes. The athletes want to do it; they love it. But the families and the people, the support system around this population as well, that's kind of already been set up. Where people are kind of set in their ways and another thing to our schedule, right? No, but this is actually really impactful. This isn't like everything else that you're doing that's honestly being done at a low level. This is going to make a massive impact. Just give it a chance.
Did you know I'm not trying to cut you off, but did you know going into this, I'm sure you thought, I want to be helping people with disabilities, people with special needs. Did you realize, because I'm sure you've seen it, I've seen it myself, when parents' eyes get opened, that they're capable of this and the beauty. And did you realize you would affect it trickling upward that way?
No, I mean, my lens were so small coming into this. I had no experience with this population. I'm just out there coaching, which is what I know how to do really, really good. Mm-hmm. And that has opened my eyes to so much. Like you said, when the parents and the families come up to you and they share that, they never imagined that their athlete could push a sled with all that weight on there, or that, they could sweat through their shirt. They've never done that before, that they are asking to exercise at home, or they're speaking about healthy food options at home, and they're crying as they thank you. That was all something that I did not think about, but is what the change that we need to see happen. And kind of those secondary beautiful effects of the program, because it takes the village around that athlete to hold them to a higher standard and assist them when they can't. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
I mean, to that point, literally over this past weekend, we had one of the athletes, uncle and auntie come up from, I believe, somewhere in Mississippi.
Okay.
And it was auntie's birthday, so she wanted to come there, but once everyone kind of started dispersing and walking away, she told me that part of the reason why she wanted to come party for her birthday in Nashville was she saw her nephew on social media pushing a sled, doing some things that she never thought was possible, and she wanted to come and try not to get emotional, but come and see it, and shake my hand and thank us for what we were doing. And I mean, it was to your point of the trickle up from the family, you never know, not all of us get to fully understand the ripple effect and to actually be able to witness that ripple effect was, I mean, just a beautiful moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's happening. And I try to remind myself in the ins and outs of the daily grind and facing the frustrations of, but that impact is being made. Like, and I try to, that's amazing that you share that, because I know that makes me feel good, because because I get frustrated, if we don't have as many athletes as I want, or people bail out, but at the end of the day, we're making massive impact. And even if we're just impacting one person, that's a whole life that we're changing.
It's kind of like this couch, and we talk about this a lot. When we started out, we didn't know that everybody that sat on this couch would change some way we thought, would change our mindset. But it's the realization of like, hey, we overcomplicate things a lot, and you realize how much we overcomplicate it. But taking away, when you think I'm going to give something to a community, but they give so much more back to you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's not even a fair trade-off.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So on that note, what, over your course of your career working with this population, what has been the biggest misconception of working with this population in general, but also with fitness? And has it changed from like the most common misconception from when you first started until now?
My misconceptions coming
just
into
I think
or what
like
I'm seeing
society,
yeah,
of what people would think of working with this population.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, really, it's the same ones that I brought in. That they're fragile, they're going to break. That mindset, especially from a coach's standpoint. I work with coaches that are going to be leading the program, and they bring whatever their experiences are, or their preconceptions about this population are, they bring that to the table, and I need to try to understand that so that I can help them coach these athletes. And like, working with you was, I could tell that from the get-go that you were going to work great with them, because you weren't going to baby them. Like, you kind of have, and maybe it's probably a little bit your nature as well, but I see it so much that volunteers, which we rely a lot on, like they think that they are going to break. I don't know how else to say it, or there's real concern there, which is not bad, because you should care for their well-being, but we've got to quickly like overcome that, because we're trying to get these people healthy, and I got to be able to push you. So that's one for sure. There, for me, another one as well, which I'm sure other people share, is like their ability to, comprehend or instill habits within themselves, that
retention.
Yeah. They definitely, and they all have different levels of ability, and that's all we refer to as like, it's an ability, it's not a disability. Some need more help than others, but they are all, just like anybody else, capable of learning and adapting and instilling habits within themselves. They just may not happen on the timeline that you want it to happen to. So as a coach, especially me, like my kind of coaching is just, I'm blunt, I'm tough. Like, I want things to happen now. I don't have a lot of patience. So having to just take a step back and be okay with this taking a little bit longer for you to grasp, that's been an adaptation, but it's really pushed me to be a better coach than I could have ever dreamed of, because I'm having to adapt how I communicate and how I demonstrate and how I have compassion and empathy for your situation. But then seeing that, okay, you're practicing this at home, you're coming in excited to share with me what you've practiced at home. Seeing these over time, you actually make these adaptations yourself, like, has taught me that, it's always best not to judge and just come in with an open mind and an open heart and just kind of try to meet you where you are, and not place a timeline on you or try to put you in a box. Like, every day, just meet you where you are. This is what you're capable of today. This is what we're going to do. And then let you surprise me when you come in next week. You know what I mean?
Well, I think a way of encompassing everything you just said, because I think a lot of people, especially the people that are not dialed in to a dedicated fitness routine who might still understand how hard it is to stay consistent with fitness, that you learn how resilient this population is. In some ways, more resilient than we are.
That's a good word, resilient.
In general, but also they're more resilient than you think they are. But when you really break it down and realize what they have to adapt to in their life, they're more resilient than anybody that comes through those doors.
For sure.
So in that regard, Train for Life is, to sum it up, 12-week programs designed to be foundational lifestyle, functional training centered around for the Special Olympics, but it's more of their day-to-day type stuff with nutrition and all of that.
Yeah, we do nutrition and mental wellness calls as well.
What, as you've been doing this and been a part of multiple 12-week programs, different phases, what are the biggest changes that you've seen this population make? Is it more physical? Is it more mental? Is it both? Is it more coaches getting impacted from the exposure to these athletes, or the athletes themselves?
Man, I mean, it's all the above.
Yeah.
It's all the above. We've seen sustained weight loss, sustained blood pressure, lower blood pressure. We've had people's diabetes numbers go down, come off diabetes medication. People's fitness scores go up. They're getting stronger. Their coordination is improving. Their endurance is better. But I mean, I guess the ones that stand out the most to me are when the families come up to me and they're like, man, my son or daughter or whatever, they're excited about fitness. They want to work out every day. They want to talk about nutrition. They put their Train for Life shirt on at 8 a.m. in the morning, and they're ready to go when class at 6:30 at night. Those are
Love that.
honestly,
Love that.
Yeah.
those are where I see that, okay, this athlete now, health and fitness is a part of their everyday life, because they're looking forward to Train for Life all week, which means they're thinking about it. Even if they're not working out at this level, like it's on their mind. So it's impacting their decisions that they make every day. It's impacting the family's decisions that they make around health and fitness. So that right there is why we do it, and then from a coach's standpoint, like hearing your testimony here today and I get, sometimes sometimes it's hard for me to like keep my perspective when I'm not hearing from the people every day, like I guess I'm pretty needy in that way in relationships. I want people to tell me how it's going every day or whatever. But when I may not hear from a coach.
So text you more. Got it.
Well, it's just tough. It's just not sustainable though, really.
Yeah.
Right?
You're that way too.
Because
I'm just needy.
Same.
But when I hear, from a coach will send me a message about an interaction they've had with a family member, I'm like, oh man, yep, that impact is being made. Even you may not hear it day to day, but then something comes up. It's like, wow, massive impact has been happening for weeks and months at that location. And then I know that we've had the opportunity to present at a conference at the Special Olympics North America conference last summer on what we're doing. So quick plug, Train for Life is happening nationally in 20 different states, which is super exciting. But we had coaches come in and share their testimony, and they get emotional about their experience working with this population. And before Train for Life, they never had experience with this population. So again, that's something that I try to really not lose sight of. Like, the impact that we're making in the gym and the coach and the community, the membership, the volunteers, not just the athlete. Like, that's going to influence every interaction they have with this population moving forward.
Yes, if you've only worked with athletes and it's been very transactional, here's my money, make me stronger. If you immerse yourself in this population, you as the coach are going to get rocked for sure. Why is this type of training and this component of life so impactful for this population that it's worth fighting for the way you have.
Yeah.
You mentioned like the medications and things like that, but like,
I mean, honestly, it's just like anybody else. Like when I have someone walk into the door, you know, that I at the facility I'm coaching at, and, you know, typical developing person, and they haven't worked out in 15 years, and, you know, maybe they're you know, chronically obese. It's like, hey, this is life and death, man. Like I tell them just like that. This is life and death. I'm here to help you as much as you want to be helped. So for me, this is imminent because, one, it's a population that's underserved that can easily be taken advantage of or can fall through the cracks. So no one else is really doing it. So if we don't do it, then who? You know, and if this person or that person continues to, you know, get funneled through our program, you know, Special Olympic sports, and we see it, and we're allowing them to just live unhealthy. We're not giving them the resources, and, you know, that's just something I'm not okay with. So it's imminent. The help needs to happen, and if we don't do it, you know, there's a lot of people doing great things out there, but not. This is a holistic program that encompasses fitness, mental wellness, and nutrition, and the best part of it is that they want it, they crave it. That's what I've seen. It's not like we're pushing something down someone's throat that doesn't want it. You know, when we started, this was an 8-week program, and parents and caregivers like begged us for more. We're like, all right, we just got to figure it out. You know, we're just growing so fast. So as long as they want it and the need is there, we're going to continue to deliver it.
I know when we've had our first pre-assessment day, when this first phase started with us at Music City Muscle, we already have a very inclusive mindset of our gym community.
Sure.
So when we announced that this was going on between the high school kids, the teachers, their parents, members of the gym, I think we had like 16, 17 volunteers for like 2 athletes. Is that, judging by your reaction, is that normal when you put this population into a normal gym? Or what is the from people not involved, the non-volunteers, things like that, what has been the reception?
Yeah, I mean, the reception's been great, honestly, just like you said. But, you know, it really comes down to, you know, that's why we want to get into facilities that are locally owned, that have a stake in the community, because then we are working with ownership that cares, ownership that's going to pour into the program. And, you know, those that pour into it, I find get the best turnout. So, I mean, I'll just give an example. Like the other, 2 weeks ago, I coached the morning class of typically developing people at the facility I work at. And I had my Train for Life class a few hours later, and I just was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to announce at the end of class, we have an opportunity to volunteer. If you're interested, I need volunteers to help me do assessment day for my Train for Life group. I had 5 people show up. You know, they just finished their workout. They went home, showered, came back a few hours later. And now they're rock star volunteers. They come back every single week. So
I had a group of people actually request to have the Saturday morning class moved back 30 minutes so that they can be done and immediately just stay and help.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, so people are, I think, we go back to what we talked about in the beginning. Like, I don't think as a species, we're meant to function at like the speed that we're functioning at, like with the amount of information overload and the stress and demands placed on us. Like, I think we're meant to be more grounded than we are. And this grounds you, and it's like palpable. So like when you see it, it's intimidating. So sometimes people just need to be kind of pushed over that hump. But when they get a piece of it, like 99.9% of people want to come back, because again, these athletes, they give you more than you give them,
For any of our listeners, followers, that are hearing this and they want to get involved in some sort of way, all the different ways that people can get involved, how can they reach out to get involved? Where can they follow along with your journey with this program?
Sure. Well, you can go to SpecialOlympicsTennessee.org. That is our organization's website. You can see all opportunities to volunteer across the board, not just for the Train for Life program, but also for the many, many, many events that we have, sporting events. Right now we're in plunge season, so it's Polar Plunge is a big fundraiser that we do where people can get involved. So that's one way, as well as we have an Instagram page, Special Olympics Tennessee on Instagram. As I mentioned, I'm not on IG anymore, but you feel free to email me if we can share my email. It's Allaria at SpecialOlympicsTN.org. That would be a good way as well. But yeah, I would just highly encourage you to go out to your local Special Olympics wherever you are in the world and see what see how it goes.
And when did you start Train for Life?
2022 spring was our first cycle.
Okay, so you're 4 years in.
Yeah,
Okay.
in our fourth year.
So 2-part question to wrap
Sure.
up this incredible interview.
Sure.
Where do you want to see Train for Life in another 4 years?
Oh, wow.
And by your reaction, let's actually separate these questions. Answer that question.
Sure. Well, my goal here within our state has always been, what I like to say is wherever there's an athlete that wants to participate in the program, we need a facility and a coach. So we're a very long state with many, many rural areas, and most of these areas have people with intellectual disabilities. So I would like to be in every county within our state our goal internally is 2030 to have a Train for Life in every county. Yeah.
It's
Every
amazing.
state by 2030.
Every county.
Every county
in
of
the state,
Tennessee
Yeah.
by 2030.
Yeah. And then national, we never set out for this to grow, outside of our state. God knows we have enough going on here, but there just hasn't been anything like this within the Special Olympics organization. So each state has their own, 501c, like a Special Olympics entity that's, governs their state, right? So I'm within the Tennessee state office, and my jurisdiction is Tennessee. But again, there hasn't been anything like this going on within Special Olympics. So states have reached out to us, hey, what are you guys doing in the fitness space? We heard you guys are doing something pretty awesome. Can you share it with us? So of course we do, because we want everyone to benefit from this program. So that is another kind of aspect of what we do, is now we train and onboard other states to run the Train for Life program the way that we design it, which is super, super cool and adds to the kind of the collaborative pot and it adds to the amount of data we collect too, which is really exciting. And I'll just quickly mention this because we are gathering data from our pre and post assessments, and we're actually in a partnership with Vanderbilt University Medical Center, where we're looking at this data over the next 5 years and determining the efficacy of this program. So as this program grows nationally, that's more and more data, which makes it more powerful. And of course, data is kind of the currency when it comes to securing funding, because this program doesn't require funding, and it will always be 100% free for the athlete, so.
Last question here. What is coming up next? What are the events you have lined up that people can get involved with?
Sure. Well, Train for Life is year-round program, so we run 3 12-week cycles. So Train for Life is always happening. So if you want to get involved, you can always find a Train for Life opportunity that's happening within that week. But as an organization, we have 250 plus events year-round, from local sporting events to regional sporting events to state events. So the next thing that we kind of have going on is we have state basketball happening the first weekend in March. So that's our state level basketball tournament. That's happening at Lipscomb in Allen Arena. So that's super exciting. We need volunteers for that. And then we have the Music City Blitz, which is in partnership with Nissan and the Tennessee Titans. We're actually going to be in the stadium hosting a flag football tournament. We're actually bringing in, I believe, 9 or 10 other states as well this time. There's 32 flag football teams. Many of those teams are actually going to be competing in flag football at the USA Games, which happen every 4 years, just like any Olympics. Those games happen this summer in Minnesota. But if you want to get involved at an awesome flag football style tournament within Nissan Stadium, that's happening at the end of March. It's on a Saturday. I can't remember the exact date.
March 28th. There might have a familiar voice doing play-by-play commentating for that Music City Blitz. I'm really excited about continuing to get involved in as many different ways as I can with the Special Olympics. This has made a very, very fast, very impactful change in my life, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of me. I don't know if you knew that, but
actually, we were in a Music City Blitz meeting this morning, and I was looking at the layout for the for y'all and I saw your name. I was like, oh, Blake Harris. I didn't know he did color commentary. Okay, let's go.
I do now.
Yeah. So if you're looking to volunteer, that's going to be an awesome event. We're actually going to be running. So I'll be overseeing with a bunch of volunteer coaches the dynamic warm-up and then combine drills. So I guess you'll be busy, but I'd love to have you as a coach. Maybe you can go back and forth.
I'm sure we can figure something out.
I'll be there to do some intervien.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So again, we're trying to continue to push that health and fitness kind of wave across the organization, and everything we do, we want to have a fitness component to it. So, that's important as an athlete to have a dynamic warm-up and get yourself ready to perform. So that's why we're bringing in professional coaches to do that. And then we're going to give them a chance to run through, actual combine drills, have lasers out there to get laser times. So it'll be a lot of fun. Last year, we had guys running 4.3s and like flip-flops. It was insane. We got some dogs out there. So
I was going to say, it deserves the same level.
It does. Yeah. So
doing for the pre-assessment, we were doing the L drill. Yeah. I was like reading through and I called you. I was like the NFL Combine L drill. All right. And then watching them do it, it was like, man, this is incredible. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Thank you for the, I'm sure, endless work that you have to do to put into this. Thank you for your sacrifice.
I appreciate that, man.
It's outlets for us to get involved and feel like we're making a difference, even if it feels like it's a micro level as opposed to that information abuse of social media on the macro level. You're not only providing a better lifestyle for an underserved population, but you're providing ways for the rest of us to get involved and feel like we're making a difference on this rock that we live on, and that our existence isn't just a selfless internal one. And I appreciate what you're doing for them and for me.
Dude, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you've done. As like he said earlier, my family is several people with special needs, and it means a lot to me. My Aunt Sue just turned 92, and she's special needs herself. She has taught me and Blake both a lot, and more than anybody else in my life, how to enjoy life, how to not take things too seriously, and literally, I love what you're doing. I know I hadn't talked a lot in this interview, and anybody wondering why is because I just loved hearing what you had to say. I genuinely wanted to hear about it, and anybody watching that wants to get involved, reach out. If you liked what you saw, if it touched your heart the way it touched mine, hit that like, share, and subscribe. And until the next time.
For the love of Nashville, tune into the next episode.